Have you ever watched someone laugh at another person's dream, only to watch those same people fall silent when the impossible happened? This is the unforgettable story of a black farmer who refused to listen to the crowd. A man whose unusual flock of ragged ducks transformed not only his struggling farm, but an entire community. Stay until the end, because what happened after one rainy night changed everything. When people first saw Elijah Carter's farm, they laughed. Not because the farm was small, not because the soil was poor, but because of his ducks. 120 skinny, muddy, uneven-looking ducks wandered across his vegetable fields every morning. Their feathers looked rough. Some limped from old injuries rescued from markets. Others had crooked beaks. None looked like the beautiful white ducks sold in expensive farming magazines. Neighbors drove by slowly just to stare. Some rolled down their windows. "Those birds look half dead. You'll never make money raising those things. Why not buy proper equipment instead of feeding useless ducks?" The laughter spread across town. Children even nicknamed the property the Broken Duck Farm. Elijah heard every word. But he never argued. Every sunrise, he quietly opened the gate, and the ducks marched into the fields. Years earlier, things had looked very different. Elijah had inherited 5 acres from his late grandmother. She hadn't left him money. She hadn't left tractors. She hadn't even left modern irrigation. Only land, and one piece of advice. She once told him, "Nature already knows how to solve most problems." Those words stayed in his heart. While other farmers bought more chemicals every season, Elijah wondered, what if there was another way? Then, disaster struck. One unusually wet spring brought endless rain. The soil stayed soaked for weeks, perfect conditions for slugs. At first, there were only a few, then hundreds, then thousands. Every morning, fresh lettuce disappeared. Young cabbage leaves looked shredded. Spinach vanished almost overnight. The damage became unbearable. Farmers sprayed chemicals repeatedly, yet every rainfall brought even more slugs. Costs skyrocketed. Harvests shrank. Some farms lost nearly half their crops. Many feared bankruptcy. Elijah couldn't afford expensive pesticides. He sat on his porch one evening, watching the rain fall. Suddenly, he remembered something his grandmother once showed him as a child. Whenever ducks wandered near her small garden, she smiled. "Watch closely," she'd whisper. "They're working." The ducks eagerly searched between vegetables, snatching slugs, snails, and insects without harming the mature plants. Back then, he thought it was simply funny. Now, it felt like an answer. Instead of buying chemicals, Elijah visited rescue farms, animal shelters, small markets, anywhere unwanted ducks needed homes. Some were old, some had damaged feathers, others had been abandoned because nobody wanted them anymore. People wondered why he'd choose birds nobody else valued. Elijah simply smiled. They deserve a second chance. Within months, he had 120 ducks, noisy, messy, far from perfect, but hard-working. Every morning before sunrise, he guided them into carefully planned sections of the farm. The ducks spread naturally across the fields, searching every corner, every damp patch, every hidden leaf. Instead of eating vegetables, they hunted what farmers hated most: slugs, thousands of them, day after day, without chemicals, without expensive machinery, without fuel. Neighbors laughed even harder. He's hired ducks as employees. Next, he'll teach chickens to drive tractors. The jokes never stopped. Weeks passed. Then, something strange happened. Elijah noticed healthy leaves replacing damaged ones. Young vegetables remained untouched. Fresh slug trails became harder to find. The ducks had quietly reduced the exploding slug population. Not completely, but enough for crops to recover. Nature had found its balance. Exactly as his grandmother believed. Across town, other farms faced disaster. Chemical costs doubled. Some vegetables couldn't even be sold because buyers worried about pesticide residue. Meanwhile, Elijah's vegetables looked greener every week. Healthier, stronger, customers noticed. At the local farmers market, people kept asking the same question. "What are you doing differently?" He answered honestly, "My ducks help me." Most people laughed until they visited the farm. One local agriculture teacher decided to investigate. He expected another strange farming myth. Instead, he watched the ducks working with incredible precision. Groups naturally searched damp areas where slugs hid. They ignored healthy, mature crops. They cleaned problem spots faster than anyone expected. The teacher took notes. Photos, videos, soon, agricultural students began visiting Elijah's farm. The place everyone mocked became an outdoor classroom. Then came another season of heavy rain. Farmers prepared for another slug invasion. Many expected Elijah's luck to end. Instead, something unbelievable happened. One morning, after an especially stormy night, neighboring farms discovered fresh slug damage everywhere. Entire rows of vegetables were covered. But Elijah's fields looked completely different. The ducks had spent the night sheltering safely. As dawn arrived, they spread across every wet corner of the farm. By afternoon, most visible slugs had disappeared. Visitors couldn't believe their eyes. While others battled an invasion, Elijah's fields looked peaceful, healthy, almost untouched. Word spread overnight. The same neighbors who once mocked him now knocked on his door. Not to laugh, to learn. Some asked where they could buy ducks, others wanted advice. Several admitted they had been wrong. Elijah welcomed every single one. Without anger, without revenge, he simply shared what he had learned. Because success means little if you refuse to help others grow too. Within 2 years, more farms adopted natural duck grazing. Chemical use dropped across the community. Local streams became cleaner. Wildlife slowly returned. Families appreciated vegetables grown with fewer pesticides. Schools organized educational visits. Children who once laughed now smiled as ducks marched proudly across the fields. The nickname, the Broken Duck Farm, disappeared forever. People began calling it the Smart Farm. One young boy visiting the farm asked Elijah a simple question. "Were you sad when everyone laughed at you?" Elijah looked across the field. The ducks were happily searching through the morning grass. Then he smiled. If people laugh before the harvest, they usually stop laughing after it. The boy never forgot those words. Neither did anyone standing nearby. Sometimes, the world judges by appearances, ragged feathers, old tools, small beginnings, different ideas. But wisdom rarely arrives dressed to impress. Sometimes it waddles quietly through muddy fields, doing work nobody notices, until the results become impossible to ignore, because the greatest solutions often look ordinary, until they change everything. If this story inspired you, subscribe for more unforgettable farm stories where resilience, wisdom, and unexpected ideas turn ordinary people into legends. And remember, never underestimate what others are too busy mocking to truly understand.